Well, the Oklahoma City Thunder are undeniably special, and make no mistake, they are just that at a historical rate. Their current 17-1 record puts them on pace for a gaudy 77-5 record, shattering the record set previously by the Golden State Warriors of 73-9, while their 16.9 net differential right now is equally as stunning. More on that number later. Yes, the Thunder are special, but what exactly makes them so special? Well, spoiler alert, it isn't the probably soon-to-be back-to-back league MVP in Shai Alexander, and this isn't an SGA slander piece. In fact, let's just get this out of the way before we really get underway in allowing me to give SGA his much-deserved flowers. The guy is elite. At a historical rate this year, he is outpacing everything that Steph Curry did that made Steph Curry a unanimous MVP in that aforementioned 73-9 season that he had. SGA is so great that I'm about to give him probably the biggest compliment anyone possibly can. He is moving into the pantheon of all-time great individual guard seasons ever, joining the likes of, yes, Michael Jeffrey Jordan and Kobe Bean Bryant. But as great as SGA has been the last 2 years, and as great as he is this year, Nikola Jokic is undeniably better. He's been better at everything. Every measurable, tangible metric, Nikola Jokic is substantially outpacing SGA in. So why is it, despite this Herculean effort by Nikola Jokic, the Oklahoma City Thunder are this much better than the Denver Nuggets? And make no mistake, despite the Nuggets' great start to this season, the Oklahoma City Thunder are not merely destroying them, they're destroying the remainder of this league at an unparalleled rate, something that makes them arguably the greatest team in NBA history. And it has nothing to do with SGA. It has everything, though, to do with this Oklahoma City Thunder defense. And it all began back in the 2024 summer in a 2-week span starting at the end of June and bridging to the beginning of July. It was when the Oklahoma City Thunder traded away Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso on June 20th of 2024. And then, roughly 2 weeks later on July 1st, they signed Isaiah Hartenstein away from the New York Knicks, a 3-year deal worth $87 million. And in the season that preceded these deals, bringing Caruso and Hartenstein in, Alex Caruso was a top 2 net rated guard defensive player, and Hartenstein was a top 2 rated big defensive player. You took 2 All-NBA caliber performers and placed them on a lineup which had 3 All-NBA defensive performers already in place in Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams. And that wasn't even factoring in the emergence of Cason Wallace. So this team has 4 to 5 or even 6 All-NBA defensive performers on one team. And there is much made about Shai Alexander's defensive prowess, and he is no doubt a great two-way player, but he is the 5th or 4th, maybe at best defender on this team. If you want to dig into the advanced metrics of it all, let's take a look at defensive box plus minus, a metric in which Nikola Jokic leads the NBA by a country mile. Currently, he's posting a 5.5 in this metric. And look, while SGA is great in this metric as well, he's 3rd league-wide. He's not even 1st on his own team. That would be Cason Wallace, then SGA, followed by Victor Wembanyama, then Isaiah Hartenstein. So 3 of the top 5 defensive BPM-rated players on one team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. But look, I know, many of you will poo-poo the BPM metric. You think that Nikola Jokic is simply an all-time cheat code and that BPM shouldn't really be counted or taken seriously, especially when talking about defensive BPM as it relates to Nikola Jokic. Well, all right, I hear you. Let's go with defensive rating. That would be net defensive rating. And this is a far better estimate of an individual's true value on the defensive side of the ball. It takes into account how many points per 100 possessions their team allows with them off the floor versus on the floor. And you got me. SGA is better than Nikola Jokic in this metric, but not by much. SGA is 7th best league-wide, while Nikola Jokic is 10th best league-wide. No, the true separation for Oklahoma City and what makes this team so special is in the team defense and all of the other elite pieces they have defensively, and that can be bared out when looking at this net defensive rating metric, where Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren are ranked 1 and 2 league-wide, just ahead of Victor Wembanyama, and next comes Cason Wallace, AJ Mitchell, and then Isaiah Joe and Lou Dort rounding out the top 12. That would be, if you're not paying attention, 5 of the top 7 net-rated defenders league-wide, all on the Oklahoma City Thunder, while 7 of the 12 best league-wide all call Oklahoma City home. And that is the true strength of this team, what really makes them all-time historically great, and that can be measured in just how badly they are eviscerating teams this season through now over a month of play, 18 games played. Last year, of course, they famously, at least famously on this channel because I talk about it all the time, broke the all-time net differential record, a record that until last season was held by the 1971-72 LA Lakers for 53 years. And you know the team that finally put Jerry West over the hump and got him his first and only NBA championship, a team that paired West with Will Chamberlain and Gail Goodrich, still one of the greatest historical teams ever. They still hold the all-time NBA record for most consecutive wins in a season at 33. Next on that list below them, the 1970-71 Bucks, of course, which famously paired Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with Oscar Robertson. After them, the 95-96 Bulls. Perhaps you're familiar with them. The 72-10 famed Bulls team, the greatest Michael Jordan team ever. After them, checking in is the 2016-2017 Golden State Warriors, a team that added Kevin Durant to the 73-9 record setters from the year before. Those were the all-time leaders in net differential until last season, that is, when the Oklahoma City Thunder of 2024-2025 shattered the 53-year record held by Jerry West and Wilt's Lakers, beat it by over a half point per game last year. But now this is just getting straight stupid. This year's Thunder are on pace to obliterate their own record from last season by over 4 points per game. 17 points per game nearly, with a 17-1 record. And that is how special this team is. And despite how special SGA is, he's not outdoing Nikola Jokic in literally anything, but his team is the strength. That's why SGA has sat out, roughly 10 to 12 total fourth quarters at this point. They simply don't need him. They are running teams off of the court through 3 quarters, and they're doing it with, yes, I'm about to say it, the greatest defense in NBA history. And to measure that, there is no better metric than relative defensive rating. And it is fundamentally difficult to cross-compare eras, not just for players, but for teams as well. But what relative defensive rating does is it reduces the pace, the rules changes, etc. It normalizes eras and compares a defensive performance versus the league average in that same season. It takes that team's points allowed per 100 possessions and compares it to the league-wide average per 100 possessions. This season happens to be around 115 points per game on the defensive rating scale, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are allowing 104 at the moment. Now let's look at what that means compared to some of the other greatest historical defenses in NBA history. Of course, the gold standard for this century generally is believed to be the 2004 Detroit Pistons, who allowed only 84.3 points per game. So obviously, if you're just looking in a vacuum, you would say, Skap, you're insane. You're telling me that a team this year in the Oklahoma City Thunder allowing 105-ish points per game is better than a team that allowed 84 per game 20 years ago. That would be 20-some points less per game by the Detroit Pistons. Well, that's exactly what I'm telling you, because league-wide scoring in that 2003-2004 season, when the Pistons laid that 84 per night number down, was only 93.4 per game. Whereas today, league-wide scoring is sitting at a comfortable 117 per game. That is nearly 25 points per game more scored per night in today's NBA than in that NBA. But the relative defensive rating for that 2003-2004 Pistons team was minus 7.5 from league average. So 7.5 points below league average, and that is considered to be the gold standard for at least this century, if not one of the very best defenses of all time. And speaking of all time, let's just stay with Detroit and go back to those famed Bad Boys Pistons and the peak of their run. The best relative defensive rating that they put down was in the 1988-89 league year, when they were -3 and they won the NBA championship. Hell, let's just go around to every single team from a historical standpoint and look at their very best seasons. How about that 1995-96 Chicago Bulls team? Yes, I mentioned them earlier. The 72-10 team. That nasty defensive team of the Chicago Bulls, spearheaded by two of the greatest perimeter defenders ever in Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and anchored at the rim by Dennis Rodman, one of the greatest big defenders of all time. And their best relative defensive net rating was minus 5.8 in that 72-win season. Keep on coming around the association. The Tim Duncan San Antonio Spurs, the very best year they ever put down, minus 8.8. Hell, how about the Boston Celtics of 2007-2008? Well, minus 8.6. And quick sidebar here, are you guys noticing a trend that some of the greatest historical defenses of all time came in the Kobe Bryant era? So Kobe Bryant was playing against all these great NBA all-time defenses and still putting up the numbers that he was putting up in that dead ball era and winning championships against all of these teams. Sorry, I digress. Back to the absurdity of this year's Oklahoma City Thunder. So basically, an all-time great number would be around -7, -8. The Oklahoma City Thunder's defense this season are minus 11.8, nearly minus 12. Absolutely obliterating the field of all-time great defenses. I, in fact, have looked at every franchise for their entire franchise's history and selected the best single-season year of all time for all of them. The only one team that comes remotely close is the 1963-64 Celtics. That was, of course, in the midst of their legendary and iconic 8 consecutive NBA championship run, anchored by the greatest defensive player in NBA history in Bill Russell. And that 63-64 season was their greatest season ever in relative net defensive rating, a minus 10.8, still being outpaced by this year's Thunder by a full point per game. And this is why the Oklahoma City Thunder are so special. This is why the Oklahoma City Thunder are right in the midst of the greatest dynasty this side of the 90s Chicago Bulls, something that I speculated would happen way back in the summer of 2024 when those acquisitions of Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein were made. Not because of SGA, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an undeniable all-time great player, but he is not the most valuable player in this league this season. He was not last season. The most valuable player or entity of this Oklahoma City Thunder team is their defense. Believe what your eyes are telling you right now. Despite this crazy, high-paced, prolific offensive era, you are seeing the greatest defense in the history of the NBA, and that is why this team, I would be shocked, isn't going to win 3 consecutive championships, maybe 4 or 5 out of the next 6 or 7 years, because there is no team that can compete and beat this team 4 times out of 7 in a 7-game series. They're too deep. They have 9 to 10 starters on this roster. and all of them defend at an absolute nasty pace. Again, probably 7 All-NBA defensive caliber players. Remember, there's only 2 All-NBA defensive teams, so 10 players make this team. I'm not suggesting that all 7 of these guys will make it because, of course, there will be voter fatigue based on the team. But look, last year they still had 2 All-NBA defensive performers, and their 2 best defensive players didn't even play enough games to be qualified. This year, Chet Holmgren is likely to be Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, and by the way, they're doing all of this without Jalen Williams, who was All-NBA defense last season. Guys, get ready, buckle up for what is going to be a historic run by this Oklahoma City Thunder for this season. I would estimate, as I've been saying for 2 years, that they are going to break the all-time wins record, and they are going to easily win the NBA championship again this season. Guys, many thanks for joining me here as always, and please do, as always, make sure that you like this video, comment on it, hype it up if you have those hype points, and most importantly, please click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on notifications to stay up to date with more from me. Until next time, guys.